Hello, Ms. Davis. I just wanted to give you a quick overview of a couple of the questions, just trying to respond to your email. First, I'm going to take a look at domain and range. So this is like number 4 on the exponential functions homework. So really, just in general, the domain is just all the possible values of x. So I'll just shorten that by saying all x values of the function. So if I follow this function, I'm looking at left to right. So this is my x-axis. As I go to the right, my function continues to go, and that arrow tells me it just continues to go on and on and on and on and on. Similarly, if I go to the to the left, and I follow this function, now I know it's also going down, but it's going down at the same time it's going over. So as it goes down, it goes over too. So eventually, even though it's going down, it will still hit all of the x values going to the left. I'll write that here in a second. The range, actually, let me write that right here. The range is similar, but we're talking about the y value. So it's really all y values. All right, so with that said, if I were looking at this function, I would look at up and down. As far as going down, it goes all the way down and it doesn't stop. There's an arrow, so it keeps going forever and ever and ever. And then going up, if I just follow the function to go to the highest point, you see it kind of goes and then it starts curving off. Now this dotted line right here is called an asymptote. That just means it's a line that the function will never touch. It can get as close and close as it wants to, but it will never touch it. So even though this graph looks like it crosses the asymptote, because it's been stated that it's an asymptote, it just will not ever cross it. It gets as close as it wants to, but never touches it. So looking at this, it goes up as high as -1 on the y-axis, because we're talking about the range. So let me write these things out. So for this example, so for number 4, the domain, the way we go about it, the way I go about it, and the way that I teach it is, it's all values of x. And x will be between two numbers. It will be less than this number, but at the same time, it'll be greater than this number. So it's between two numbers. What I tell them to do is look at what's the lowest possible value of x, what's the highest possible value of x. All right, so the lowest possible value x for this thing, we already talked about, that's going to the left. Even though it's going there slowly, it is going all the way over eventually. So it's going all the way to infinity, but it's going in the negative direction, so negative infinity. Now, how far to the right does it go? It goes all the way to positive infinity. Now the range is the y value, all of the possible y values. And again, I asked them to look at the lowest possible and the highest possible. So the lowest possible value of y, again, it goes down to infinity, but it's in a negative direction. And the highest value of y is that it goes up to -1. Now, let me erase this line right here and this line right here, because if it included -1, I would have to put a line underneath here. But since it's an asymptote, it never touches it, there is no line right there. So that is essentially the domain and range. The only issue with that is that they don't list infinities over here. So this thing, if I look at those, if I'm looking at all the numbers to the left and all the numbers to the right, we call that all real numbers. Those are all the possible numbers. And then for the range, all of my y's are less than -1. All of my function values, my y's, are less than -1. So this is the same as saying y's less than -1. It's almost like I can take this part and ignore it. And this is what I get because of the infinity part. So all of my y's are less than -1. So over here for the domain, it says all reals. And then for the range, it would say, we would type in this thing right here. So we have this setup right here. That's a -1. This is a y. Check that, we should be good. All right, so that's in general how we work on the domain and range. I didn't say a whole lot about this in my most recent videos because we had a whole unit where we dealt with this when we dealt with functions. So this is just a rehash of stuff that we've already done. It just now applies to exponential functions. Hope that helped.